The Galactic Council chamber was silent when the decision was announced. The air inside the hall felt heavy, almost frozen in place, as if the universe itself waited to see how Earth would react. The representatives from hundreds of different species watched with unease. Some lowered their eyes. Others whispered behind folded wings or flickering antennae. A few looked almost relieved, as if they had been waiting for this day for a long time. The human delegation stood together at the center of the room. Their faces showed no anger, no fear, only a calm stillness. Like people who understood that something important had just happened, but were not willing to show weakness. The council speaker, an elder being whose shimmering skin shifted colors with emotion, read the final statement in a slow and measured voice. Earth was removed from membership, effective immediately. The reasons sounded simple on paper but carried deeper meaning. The speaker said humans were too ambitious, too unpredictable, too ready to experiment with ideas the rest of the galaxy was not prepared for. Some species believed that humans learned too quickly and pushed scientific boundaries too far. Others were afraid that humans would one day become a dominant power without even trying, but the humans did not argue. Their leader, a woman named Ambassador Leanne Aurora, simply nodded. She thanked the council for the years of cooperation. Then she turned and walked out with her team following behind her. Their footsteps echoed softly across the marble-like floor of the chamber, and not a single representative dared to stop them. Outside the hall, the human team boarded their shuttle in silence. The craft lifted off and slipped into the vastness of space. Only then did someone finally speak. A young officer whispered, asking whether the council had made a mistake. Ambassador Aurora answered calmly. She said the council had not made a mistake. The council had made a choice, and now it was time for Earth to make its own. Hours later, the shuttle arrived at Earth's main diplomatic station. The station was large and bright, filled with people from many different nations. They were waiting anxiously for news. When Aurora announced that Earth had been expelled, the room reacted with a mix of shock, frustration, and confusion. But even then, she raised a hand to keep everyone quiet. She said humanity would not respond with anger. They would respond with action. A message was sent to every government on Earth. Within days, world leaders gathered for an emergency conference. It was the first time in many years that every major nation agreed to meet in one place without hesitation. They sat around a circular table, listening to the full report. The council believed Earth was too different, too eager to move forward, too unwilling to stay inside the limits set by older, slower civilizations. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then one of the leaders said something that changed the entire direction of the conversation. If the council feared human potential, then Earth should stop hiding it. Instead of trying to earn the council's approval, Earth should focus on becoming something greater. This idea spread quickly across the room. It was bold. It was risky. But it made sense. If the galaxy doubted humanity's ability to grow peacefully, then the best answer was to grow even more, but without harming anyone. Without fighting, without trying to control, only building. Soon, the discussion transformed into planning. Simple ideas became detailed proposals. Disagreements turned into solutions. Old rivalries faded, replaced by a shared purpose. Earth needed unity, and for the first time in generations, it found it. A new initiative was created. It was called the Continuance Initiative. The name represented a promise that humanity would continue to advance, not for power, but for progress. The plan had three main goals. First, Earth would expand beyond its boundaries, creating strong colonies that could support life without depending on the Council. Second, Earth would begin advanced scientific research programs without restrictions. Third, the world would work under a unified structure to avoid internal conflict. Scientists, engineers, explorers, and diplomats joined the initiative. Entire cities volunteered to become training hubs. Spaceports became busy with new designs and new ideas. Students from all over the world applied to become part of the effort, seeing it as a chance to help shape humanity's future. The first colony ships were unlike anything humanity had built before. They were large, smooth structures powered by clean energy systems. Their interiors looked like small, floating towns. With gardens, learning centers, and living spaces for families and researchers, the goal was not to escape Earth, but to create new homes that could support future generations. Meanwhile, research programs explored everything from long-distance energy transfer to safe methods of creating artificial gravity. With no council rules to limit them, scientists explored possibilities that had been avoided for years. Some experiments failed. Others succeeded beyond expectation. Humanity learned, adapted, and improved. Just as the Council always feared, as the Continuance Initiative grew, Earth became more organized. Governments coordinated resources. Companies collaborated instead of competing. Even ordinary citizens took part, offering their skills in construction, agriculture, engineering, and education. Humanity began to see itself not as separate nations, but as one species working together. A year later, the first wave of Earth's new colonies established themselves in distant star systems. The settlers sent back messages describing blue oceans, red deserts, silver forests, and strange new skies. Life on these worlds was challenging, but exciting. The colonists worked together, following the idea that Earth's future depended on cooperation and harmony. The Council watched from afar with growing unease. They expected Earth to struggle. Instead, humanity thrived. Without military fleets or political pressure, Earth expanded naturally. The colonies became centers of science and innovation. Students from Earth and the colonies shared ideas through long-distance networks. New technologies were tested safely and responsibly. Problems were solved by creativity rather than force. Despite all this growth, Earth remained peaceful. No one spoke of revenge. No one sought confrontation. Humanity only wanted space to grow without interference. But the galaxy noticed. Some species living outside Council protection sent messages to Earth, asking for help with education, medicine, or farming. Earth responded with kindness. Engineers visited distant planets to build water systems. Teachers shared simple learning programs. Doctors offered medical assistance without demanding anything in return. These actions surprised many observers. No empire was being built. No threats were made. Humanity was simply helping those who asked, and yet something was changing. Earth was becoming a center of influence, not because it wanted power, but because it offered hope. The colonies became examples of stability. The research centers became symbols of possibility. The people working under the Continuance Initiative proved that cooperation could achieve more than fear ever could. On Earth, Ambassador Aurora watched all this progress with a quiet sense of pride. She often walked through the halls of the Global Command Center, where maps of new colonies filled entire walls. She saw young students training for exploration. She saw scientists developing safe technologies. She saw diplomats preparing peaceful missions. One evening, she looked at a growing star chart of human settlements. She realized something important. The Council had exiled Earth to limit its future. But instead, they had given humanity freedom. Freedom to explore. Freedom to innovate. Freedom to rise without restrictions. Earth had not built a fleet. They had built something larger. Something stronger. Something enduring. They had built the beginning of an empire, but an empire shaped by cooperation, not conquest, and the galaxy was only just beginning to understand what humanity was capable of. Years passed after the creation of the Continuance Initiative, and Earth slowly transformed into something new. The shock of being exiled from the Galactic Council faded, replaced by calm determination. Humanity no longer looked up at the stars with fear or frustration. They looked with purpose. Their exile had become a beginning, not an end. During this time, Earth changed in ways the Council never expected. Technology advanced at a fast but responsible pace. Cities became cleaner, quieter, and more efficient. Transportation shifted to energy-light systems that barely left any waste behind. Farming expanded into vertical structures that grew food for billions without harming the planet. Everything humanity did carried one message: growth without destruction. The most important project was the creation of the arc carriers. These structures were not warships. They were not built to fight or conquer. They were built to explore, support, and connect. Each arc carrier was as large as a small moon, shaped like a smooth, shining ring. Inside these rings were entire environments: forests, lakes, gardens, laboratories, classrooms, peaceful living areas. Families could live on them. Scientists could run experiments. Diplomats could host meetings. Students could learn. The design of the arc carriers was simple but beautiful. Gravity was carefully controlled so that people could walk normally. Light panels created warm, natural sunlight that shifted through gentle colors as the day passed. The air was fresh and clean. Everything had a purpose. Everything worked together. When the first arc carrier lifted into space, people from all over Earth watched with pride. It moved slowly, like a floating city heading into the unknown. No weapons were installed. No shields were needed. Its purpose was not to defend humanity, but to show what humanity could build. Other arc carriers soon followed, each one slightly different from the last. Some carried exploration teams, others carried scientists, a few carried families who wanted to help start new colonies. Every arc carrier acted like a moving heart of knowledge and hope. Meanwhile, Earth's research centers continued to push forward. Scientists discovered ways to weave gravity into gentle patterns, creating small pockets of stable force. This technology allowed for easier movement of heavy materials and made construction in space much simpler. Long-distance energy bridges were also created. These bridges could send power between planets without needing large storage systems. They were efficient and safe, and they changed how humans lived. Humanity shared this technology freely with its colonies. As the colonies grew, they became more independent. They learned how to work together with Earth while still building their own identities. Trade routes formed between planets. Information moved quickly through networks. Students often traveled between colonies to learn from different teachers. The colonies did not feel like small outposts. They felt like real homes. As Earth expanded peacefully, the Galactic Council began to notice something strange. Their old trade partners were slowly turning toward human colonies. The Council's own technology centers were falling behind. Their political influence was weakening. Instead of fear, the Council should have felt curiosity. But many members felt threatened. Some Council species sent observers to study the arc carriers and colonies. They expected to find signs of military buildup or plans for domination. Instead, they saw harmonious cities where multiple species lived together. They saw classes filled with young students learning science, music, and diplomacy. They saw advanced infrastructure meant to help, not control. These observations confused them. They expected humanity to respond to exile with aggression, but humans were doing the opposite. They were building an empire of knowledge, not power. Word of Earth's peaceful expansion spread across the galaxy, reaching small species the Council had long ignored. These species had little resources, little political weight, and little protection. But they heard that Earth offered help without asking for anything in return. Soon, Earth began receiving requests. A desert species asked for clean water systems. A forest-dwelling species asked for medicine. A tiny species with fragile bodies asked for safe housing designs. Earth responded to every request with compassion. Engineers traveled to distant planets to help build infrastructure. Doctors and teachers shared their skills. Our carriers welcomed guests who needed temporary shelter. This generosity created trust, and trust created relationships. Without realizing it, Earth was becoming the center of a growing network of cooperation. It was not planned. It happened naturally. People preferred kindness over fear. Opportunity over restriction. Back on Earth, all these changes were carefully observed. Not with suspicion, but with pride. Leaders from the Continuance Initiative met regularly to discuss new developments. They did not want to create a real empire, only wanted to help more species grow and thrive. But the galaxy was starting to see them as something bigger. The word empire did not come from humans. It came from outsiders. They saw Earth's growing influence, its technological gifts, its peaceful colonies, and its supportive colonies. They thought only one word could describe such power: an empire. At first, Earth refused the term. They feared it would cause misunderstanding. They did not want to appear controlling. But slowly, people began to see that the word could be changed. It did not need to mean domination. It could mean cooperation. It could mean shared progress. It could mean a future where all species worked together for the common good. Earth eventually accepted the name, not with pride, but with responsibility. If the galaxy saw humanity as an empire, then humanity needed to act wisely. They needed to show what a peaceful empire could look like. One quiet evening, Ambassador Leon Aurora walked through the main Ark carrier construction station. She observed workers adjusting energy panels, scientists testing gravity systems, and engineers checking travel routes. The entire place felt alive, was filled with purpose and hope. She thought back to the day Earth was expelled from the Council. Back then she felt fear and uncertainty. Now she felt something else entirely. She felt the steady rise of a civilization that had chosen peace over anger, growth over bitterness. Across the colonies, humans and other species worked side by side. They built schools, farms, research labs, and safe homes. Children played under alien skies. Teachers shared lessons from Earth's history. Doctors introduced simple medical technologies that saved thousands of lives. None of this involved war. None of it involved threats. Humanity's influence grew because it offered solutions to problems. It offered a path forward. But even with such peaceful growth, whispers began spreading among the council members. Feared that Earth would eventually use its influence to control the galaxy. Others believed that the council needed to approach Earth carefully, perhaps even rebuild diplomatic relations. A few leaders suggested that Earth could become an ally again, maybe even a guiding figure. The council's uncertainty grew as human expansion continued. They watched the colonies prosper. They watched the Ark carriers move across the stars like floating cities of light. They watched small species join Earth's network voluntarily. The more they watched, the more they realized something important. Earth had not returned to the galaxy in anger. It had returned with kindness. Kindness was more powerful than any fleet. Days stretched into months, and months into years. Earth's sphere of influence expanded quietly but steadily. The Ark carriers traveled farther, reaching systems no council ship had visited in centuries. Colonies grew stronger. Research continued without pause, and Earth's empire, though peaceful, became real. It was an empire not born from fear, but from the desire to help. It was an empire not driven by conquest, but by connection. It was an empire built on the simple belief that every species deserved a chance to grow. The galaxy had never seen anything like it, and the Council was beginning to understand that their decision to exile humanity had set something extraordinary into motion. A new power was rising, not to dominate, but to guide. A power built not from weapons, but from wisdom. The foundation of Earth's future was now complete, and the galaxy was slowly shifting toward it, drawn by hope and possibility. The blueprint of a peaceful empire had been created, and nothing could stop it from spreading across the stars. The Ark carriers moved quietly across the galaxy, their glowing rings shining like gentle beacons in the dark. Wherever they traveled, they left behind a feeling of hope. Colonies grew stronger, small species found allies, and peaceful cooperation increased day by day. But the more Earth's influence spread, the more the Galactic Council began to feel uneasy. Inside the council chamber, discussions became tense. Representatives whispered among themselves, unsure how to react to Earth's growing presence. They had expected humanity to struggle after the exile. They had expected chaos, disorder, maybe even a desperate attempt to return. But none of that happened. Instead, Earth expanded with calm purpose. One council member, a tall creature with long silver limbs, stood during a meeting and said the galaxy was experiencing something unusual. He said new alliances were forming in places the council had ignored. He said those alliances all pointed back to Earth. Some members nodded or stayed silent, unwilling to admit they had underestimated humans. A small group suggested sending observers to learn more. They wanted to understand how Earth was influencing so many planets without using force. The Council agreed reluctantly. They sent neutral envoys to several human colonies, expecting to find hidden military systems or secret plans of domination. Instead, they found something very different. The first team arrived at a colony called Harmony Reach. It was a peaceful world with gentle blue hills and soft white clouds. When the envoys landed, they did not see soldiers. They saw communities working together. Humans and other species lived side by side. Children played in open parks. Farmers tended crops that grew under sunlight panels. Teachers led lessons in outdoor classrooms, surrounded by gardens. The envoys observed daily life and found nothing that suggested conflict. Harmony Reach was exactly what its name implied, a place where different beings lived with respect and cooperation. Another team visited a research colony built on a rocky moon. Here, scientists from multiple species developed safe energy systems and studied new ways to support life on harsh planets. The Council envoys watched as human engineers explained gravity tools to students from worlds the Council had barely recognized. The atmosphere was bright and welcoming. Everywhere the envoys traveled, they saw the same pattern. No weapons. No rumored superfleets. No sign of dominance. Only a growing network of peaceful systems working towards shared progress. The envoys were confused. This was not the reaction of a species angry at exile. It was the journey of a species choosing peace. News of these observations returned to the Council. Some representatives were impressed. Others were suspicious. Few believed Earth was using kindness as a strategy to gain trust. But even they had no proof of any wrongdoing. While the Council debated, Earth continued its quiet expansion. More small species approached the Ark carriers for help. Some asked for food support during droughts. Others asked for education or health care. Earth always responded with care. Engineers built clean water systems. Doctors shared simple medical technology that saved lives. Teachers created learning programs that could be used even on planets with limited technology. This created something new, a sense of connection. Species who felt ignored for centuries suddenly found themselves part of a larger community. They felt valued, respected, and included. Across the colonies, life continued to flourish. Farms grew even on harsh worlds. Schools taught both science and culture, encouraging students to learn from each other. Spaceports welcomed travelers with open stations filled with art, music, and shared stories. Every colony had a unique identity, yet all followed the same simple principles: cooperation, fairness, and peaceful growth. Back on Earth, the global leaders watched this evolution with careful attention. They knew the galaxy was watching them. They knew the Council's fears were rising, so they maintained transparency. All research was shared openly. All projects were documented. Every Ark carrier mission was reported to avoid misunderstandings. Humans believed that honesty was their strongest shield. Ambassador Leon Aurora spent much of her time meeting with colony leaders, scientists, diplomats, and students. She listened to their ideas and concerns. She answered questions about Earth's role in the galaxy. She encouraged them to continue building a peaceful future. One day, she stood on the observation deck of an Ark carrier named Aurora Passage. The giant windows revealed a view of stars stretching endlessly in all directions. Small transport ships moved between colonies, like tiny lights drifting in a gentle dance. A young student approached her and asked if Earth had planned all this from the beginning. Aurora smiled softly. She explained that humanity had not planned to create an empire. They simply responded to exile by growing with purpose. And as they grew, others joined them. It was not a plan. It was a path. Meanwhile, on the colonies, new challenges began to appear. Some planets had unpredictable weather. Others lacked proper soil for farming. A few had environmental issues caused by past civilizations. But instead of giving up or blaming others, humans and their allies worked together on one world. Engineers created special floating farms that used nutrient-rich water to grow crops. On another, scientists built weather monitoring stations that warned residents of sudden storms. Everywhere, solutions were created through collaboration. This problem-solving approach made Earth's influence even stronger. Species who once doubted humans now saw them as dependable partners. They trusted Earth's intentions. They believed in the continuance initiative. As trust grew, trade routes began shifting. Goods flowed more frequently between Earth's colonies than between council systems. New markets opened and economic growth spread through the network. The council noticed this change and felt uneasy. Their influence was slowly weakening, not through conflict, but through natural progress. Inside the council chamber, meetings became heated. Some representatives demanded restrictions on Earth's technology. Others argued that Earth had done nothing wrong. Some called for peace talks. Others feared that Earth's peaceful expansion was more dangerous than any military fleet. The council's unity weakened. Sides formed. Arguments grew. And all the while, Earth continued its gentle rise. Whispers spread across the galaxy. People spoke about the human colonies, the arc carriers, and the friendly systems growing under Earth's influence. Many called it the beginning of a new era. Others said it was the rise of an empire unlike any before. On one distant outpost, a group of alien merchants gathered and discussed the changes. They said Earth's empire was built not on force, but on opportunity. They said humans did not demand loyalty. They inspired it. They said the council would soon have to accept that things were changing back on Earth. Ambassador Aurora received reports of these whispers. She read message after message from colonies describing peaceful growth. She saw maps filled with new connections. She heard stories of cooperation between species who had once avoided each other. Each report reminded her of something important. Influence did not always come from power. Sometimes it came from kindness. But even with all this progress, Earth was cautious. They did not celebrate too soon. They did not boast. They understood that the galaxy's attention could change at any moment. So they continued focusing on stability, learning, and harmony. Yet deep inside the galaxy, something subtle but undeniable was happening. The Council's authority was weakening, and Earth's influence was rising. No battles were fought. No threats were made. This shift happened quietly, like the slow movement of a dawn. The Council feared this dawn. Even though it came with gentle light, Earth's network of colonies was becoming vast. The arc carriers traveled farther each year. More species reached out for help. More alliances formed naturally. And slowly, the foundation of something larger took shape. A peaceful empire. An empire of learning, compassion, and cooperation. The galaxy had never seen such a thing. Many believed it was impossible. But humanity was proving otherwise. Part by part. World by world, relationship by relationship, Earth was becoming a central force in the galaxy's future. The whispers continued spreading, growing louder with each passing day. They said that Earth's rise was just beginning, and though humanity did not seek power, the galaxy was already shifting toward their guidance. Drawn by the simple hope of a better future, the night over the imperial capital was filled with quiet tension. As Aaron stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing city, the endless towers of steel and crystal stretched into the sky like pillars holding the heavens in place. The hum of engines, the distant lights of drones, and the soft pulse of city shields formed a strange kind of comfort. But Aaron did not feel peace. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him stronger than ever. He had not expected the Council to respond so aggressively after the first battle. He knew they would be angry, but he did not expect them to send 3 more fleets. Earth had won a victory, but Aaron knew it was only the beginning. Now, standing on the balcony, he wondered if the empire he helped build was ready for the storm that was about to come. Down in the central courtyard, he could see soldiers marching in formation, preparing for deployment. Their armor was polished, their weapons charged, and their expressions calm. They were loyal, disciplined, and determined. Watching them gave Aaron a sense of pride, but also fear. He knew many of these people might not return. Behind him, the door slid open, and Mira walked in. She paused for a moment, watching him quietly before speaking. Her voice was soft but strong, steady even in the middle of looming war. "You haven't slept," she said. "There's too much happening," Aaron replied. "Every hour, we receive new reports. The Council fleets are forming faster than expected. Their supply lines are strong. They have begun calling on other species for support. We don't know how many will join them." Mira stepped beside him, leaning on the railing. "We knew this would happen. Earth challenged their power. They won't let it go. But we are ready. The Empire will stand." Aaron turned to her with a faint smile. "You sound very confident, because I have seen what we built," Mira replied. "I've seen what our people can do. They are not slaves anymore. They are not weak. They are not alone. They will fight for the Empire because they believe in it." Aaron looked back at the city. "I hope you are right." Far beyond the planet, the Imperial fleets moved like shadows through the darkness. Thousands of ships, each built with precision and shaped for war, formed lines across the void. At their center was the Titan Aaron's flagship. Standing like a giant among smaller warships, Admiral Talon stood on the bridge of his own command vessel. Watching the fleet status updates, every ship was reporting ready. Every fighter squadron was armed. Every crew member was at their station. The Empire did not waste time. Talon glanced at the screen showing Aaron's last broadcast. He remembered the fire in the young Emperor's eyes, the determination in his voice. Aaron was not a leader who demanded loyalty through fear. He earned it through purpose. Talon admired that. But he also knew that purpose alone could not win a war. Strategy, numbers, and precision mattered. And the Council had all three. He turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet for Phase 1. Everything must be perfect." On a distant moon, hidden beneath metal and stone, engineers worked on the Empire's most secret project. A massive machine rested in the heart of the structure, surrounded by glowing conduits and humming cores. It pulsed with strange energy, lighting the chamber with waves of blue dot, the chronogate, a device capable of bending time in small but powerful ways. Not full travel, but alterations, distortions, manipulations. Enough to give the Empire an edge in battle, enough to turn defeats into victories, enough to change everything. Chief Scientist Vale walked around the machine, checking every data stream. Her eyes glowed with excitement and exhaustion. She had worked on the project for months without rest. Pushing herself past her limits, as she looked at the readings, her assistant approached. "Doctor, the energy levels are stabilizing. We can run a full test." Vale smiled weakly. "Good," informed the Emperor. "This might be the advantage we need." Back in the capital, Aaron received the message. His heart raced. The chronogate was dangerous, unpredictable, and unlike anything humans had attempted before. But it represented hope, the kind of hope that changed wars. For a moment, Aaron thought about refusing the test. But then he remembered the fleets coming toward them. He remembered the Council's cruelty. He remembered Earth being exiled, humiliated. Treated like dirt, the Empire needed every advantage. He sent a message to Vale. "Proceed." The test began. The machine activated with a massive surge of light. The chamber shook. The conduits glowed brighter. The air rippled, bending like heated glass. Time twisted in small circles, forming waves that spread across the room. For a moment, it seemed stable. Then something went wrong. A blast of uncontrolled energy shot out, shattering supports and throwing equipment across the floor. Vale was hit by the shockwave and knocked down. Alarms screamed as the lights flickered. The machine roared like a storm. Vale crawled to the console, forcing herself to breathe. She hit emergency commands, trying to shut down the machine. Her assistant yelled over the noise, "It's breaking apart. We have to evacuate." "No," Vale shouted. "We cannot lose this." She pressed more controls. The machine resisted. It fought her like a living creature refusing to die. Finally, the lights snapped off and the roar stopped. Smoke filled the chamber. Sparks fell like tiny stars. Vale collapsed beside the console, coughing, but victorious. She whispered, "It works. But we need more control." When Aaron heard what happened, he felt his stomach tighten. The machine was powerful but dangerous. Using it in battle would be a risk, but not using it might be worse. Mira found him again, this time pacing in the strategic hall. The test nearly destroyed the facility, Aaron said. We cannot rely on unstable technology in war. But it could save us, Mira replied. And Vale is the best scientist we have. If she says it can be mastered, we should trust her. Aaron looked up at the giant hologram showing the approaching council fleets. Trust, or gamble everything. Before Myra could answer, a message arrived from Admiral Talon. Enemy fleets have entered long-range sensor range. They will reach the border in 40 hours. Aaron's breath froze. For a moment, 40 hours, that was all the time they had. The capital transformed into a storm of preparation. Soldiers raced through corridors. Pilots checked their fighters. Engineers loaded ammunition. Civilians were moved to safe zones underground. The Empire was not afraid. It was bracing for something massive. Aaron walked through the military hangar, watching his people. Some saluted him. Others simply looked at him with trust. He felt their expectations, their fear, their hope. He approached a group of young soldiers. One of them stepped forward nervously. Sir, will we win? Aaron paused. He did not want to lie. We will fight, he said, and we will stand for our home. That is what matters. The soldier nodded, encouraged. Later, Aaron stood on the bridge of the Titan as the fleet prepared to move. The stars outside looked peaceful, unaware of the war about to unfold. Admiral Talon appeared beside him. The fleets are ready. Once we deploy, there is no turning back. No, Aaron replied quietly. But Earth has been pushed long enough. This time, we push back. The fleet engines ignited, lighting the darkness with blue fire. Ship after ship launched into formation. The Titan led them, a giant spear cutting through the void, as they moved toward the border. Aaron closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of Earth. He thought of the council halls where he once stood. He thought of all the insults, the threats. The chains now, Earth had an empire, and the council would learn what that meant. When Aaron opened his eyes again, the stars seemed brighter. The war was coming, but so was the empire. The Imperial fleet moved silently through the dark space near the border, their engines dimmed to avoid detection. Inside the Titan, Aaron stood in the command chamber, surrounded by glowing screens and hushed voices. Everyone knew the next few hours would decide the future of Earth and the Empire. The Council fleets were close now, moving with confidence, believing that Earth would break just like before. But this time, things were different. Aaron looked at Admiral Talon, who stood beside him with calm determination. What is their formation? Aaron asked. 3 main fleets spread wide, Talon replied. They want to trap us. Their central force is the strongest. If we hit it directly, we risk heavy losses. But if we avoid it, they will surround us. They think they have every angle covered. And do they? Aaron asked quietly. Talon shook his head. No, they do not know what we have built. He tapped a control panel, and a hologram of the chrono gate appeared. If Vale can stabilize it, we will have an advantage they cannot predict. Aaron nodded, though worry tugged at him. The machine was powerful, but unstable. Using it in battle felt like stepping into a storm with no shield. Still, they had no choice. The Council fleets were larger, older, and supported by multiple species who feared Earth's rise. Without an edge, the Empire would struggle. On the distant moon, Vale stood in front of the chrono gate again. Her hand shook slightly. Not from fear, but from exhaustion. She had been awake for almost 2 days, making final adjustments. The room still held marks from the last accident, scorched metal, and cracked panels. Her assistant watched the readings carefully. Doctor, the Emperor has authorized activation for battlefield support, he said. Vale closed her eyes for a moment, gathering strength. Then we begin. Keep the energy flow balanced. If it spikes, shut down the outer conduits immediately. The machine hummed, lights growing brighter, energy surging through the cables like living streams. Vale adjusted the controls, trying to keep everything stable. There was no turning back. Far away, the Council fleets appeared on the Imperial sensors. Their ships moved like a massive wave stretching across the stars. Thousands of warships, each armed with powerful weapons designed to crush resistance. Inside the Titan, the atmosphere tightened. Officers monitored screens. Pilots prepared for launch. Soldiers braced themselves. Aaron stood at the center of it all, feeling the weight of every life depending on him. "Enemy fleets entering range," an officer announced. Talon straightened. "Deploy fighters. Bring all shields to full power. Prepare main cannons." Aaron watched the hologram closely. The Council fleets were spreading out, trying to encircle the Empire's smaller force. "They want us to panic," Aaron said. "Let them try," Talon replied. The first exchange began. Bright beams of energy crossed the void as both sides opened fire. Fighters swarmed like clouds of glowing insects, weaving between large ships. Explosions lit the darkness, and shock waves rippled across the battlefield. The Empire fought bravely, but the Council's numbers began to show. Enemy ships pushed forward, forcing the Imperial fleet back slowly. Talon issued quick orders, moving ships into new formations. Trying to break the Council's pattern. "We need the Chronogate support now," he muttered. Arin sent a message to Vale. "We are being overwhelmed. Activate the gate." In the moon facility, Vale heard the message and took a deep breath. Activating now, she pressed the final control. The Chronogate roared to life. A wave of distorted energy spread through space. Invisible to the eye, but powerful enough to bend time in localized areas. It reached the battlefield within seconds. On the bridge of an Imperial cruiser, the crew watched enemy weapons slow down, their beams moving like thick liquid. Imperial ships dodged with ease, firing counterattacks that seemed impossibly precise. "What is happening?" a pilot shouted. "Time distortion. The gate is working," an officer replied. Across the battle, enemy ships struggled as their targeting systems malfunctioned. Their movements became sluggish, like they were wading through a swamp. Admiral Talon smiled for the first time that day. "Now push forward. Break their center." Imperial ships moved with impossible speed, slipping through weak spots in the Council formation. Their cannons fired at perfect angles, hitting crucial targets. The battlefield shifted, but the Chronogate was unstable. In the moon facility, alarms blared. The machine's energy levels spiked dangerously. "Doctor, the core is overheating," her assistant yelled. Vale saw the readings and felt fear rise in her chest. If the machine exploded, the entire moon might be destroyed. "We cannot shut it down now," she said, gritting her teeth. "The fleet needs more time." She forced the controls manually, trying to stabilize the energy flow. Sweat ran down her face as sparks flew from the panels. Back in the battle, the Council ships began to break under pressure. Their central fleet collapsed as Imperial forces cut through it with speed and precision, as no one thought possible. But then the distortions faltered. Enemy ships regained normal speed. Their cannons fired again, forcing the Imperial fleet to pull back. Aaron realized what had happened. He looked at Talon. "The gate is failing." "Then we finish this the old way," Talon said. "All ships prepare final strike." The Council fleets pushed forward again, trying to regain control. Aaron felt his heart race as he saw the Titan shaking under heavy fire. "Target their flagship," Aaron ordered. "If we break their command, the rest will fall." The Titan charged its main cannon, energy gathering at the front of the ship. The Council flagship did the same. Both ships aimed directly at each other. The two beams fired. For a moment, the battlefield filled with blinding light as the beams collided. The shockwave knocked smaller ships aside. Aaron held onto the railing, eyes narrowed, refusing to look away. Slowly, the Council's beam weakened. The Titan's cannon pushed forward inch by inch, until it finally broke through. The Council flagship was engulfed in light. When the glow faded, nothing remained but drifting debris. The Council fleets hesitated. Their command was gone. Confusion spread through their formations. Imperial ships took advantage immediately, pushing them back. Within minutes, the council began to retreat. Cheers filled the Titan's bridge. Officers hugged each other. Soldiers shouted with relief. Aaron felt his knees weaken as the tension finally left him. Talon turned to him, eyes shining. "We did it. The Empire stands." Yer nodded, breathing deeply. "Yes, but we must check on Vale." A transmission came from the moon facility. Vale appeared on the screen, tired but alive, standing in front of the damaged machine. "The gate survived," she said softly, "but it will need time to repair." Rand smiled gently. "You saved us. All of you did. The Empire owes you everything." Later, Aaron returned to the Imperial capital. Crowds filled the streets, cheering as the fleet returned. The people were no longer afraid. They had stood against the council and won. Mira met him outside the Titan, smiling with relief. "You did it," she said. "We did it," Aaron corrected. "All of us." As he looked over the city, he felt a deep sense of pride. Earth had been cast out, rejected, mocked. But instead of fading away, they built something greater, something strong, something united. They built an empire, and now the galaxy knew it. Aaron lifted his gaze to the stars, knowing this was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, more threats, more tests. But the Empire would face them together. Earth was no longer a forgotten world. It was the center of a rising power. The galaxy would never be the same again.